The German shepherd's growl cut through the parking lot like a blade, low, primal, deadly. Three men stood frozen, caught between running and fighting, their hands hovering near waistbands while a woman clutched her crying daughter behind them. The afternoon sun glinted off the dog's bared fangs, and Marcus Webb felt his combat instincts surge through his blood like electricity. No uniform, no weapon, no backup. Just a retired Marine, his K-9 partner, and three predators who'd picked the wrong victim. The lead thug's hand twitched toward his waistband. Rex's muscles coiled tighter. Marcus's voice dropped to that deadly calm he'd used in Helmand Province. Last chance. Walk away. But would they? The Florida sun beat down mercilessly on the cracked asphalt of the Save Mart parking lot on Arlington Expressway. Sarah Martinez fumbled with her keys, grocery bags cutting into her forearms, while her 6-year-old daughter, Emma, clutched a stuffed rabbit against her chest. The heat shimmered in waves off the pavement, making the afternoon feel suffocating. "Mommy, can we get ice cream?" Emma's voice was small, hopeful. Sarah forced a smile, though exhaustion pulled at every muscle in her body. "Maybe next week, baby." The lie tasted bitter. Next week wouldn't be different. It hadn't been different for the 8 months since David's funeral, since the Marine Corps casualty assistance officer had stood on her doorstep with words that shattered her world. She popped the trunk of her 11-year-old Honda Civic, the hinge creaking in protest. The car needed work she couldn't afford. Everything needed something she couldn't afford. "Nice car." The voice came from behind her, male and mocking. Sarah's stomach dropped. She turned slowly. 3 young men had materialized, spreading out in a semicircle that blocked her path to the driver's door. The one who'd spoken wore a red bandana, his arms covered in amateur tattoos. His companions flanked him, hands stuffed in pockets, eyes scanning the parking lot with practiced casualness. "Look, I don't want any trouble." Sarah's voice was steady, despite the hammer of her heart. She stepped closer to Emma, instinctively putting her body between her daughter and the strangers. "Nobody wants trouble, lady." Red Bandana stepped closer. "Just your purse. Make it easy." 300 yards away, Marcus Webb felt the German shepherd tense beneath his hand. Rex's ears had pricked forward, his entire body rigid with alertness. The 70-pound dog had been Marcus's partner for 2 tours in Afghanistan before they'd both retired 6 months ago. The dog knew threat when he smelled it. Marcus followed Rex's line of sight across the parking lot. His mind, trained through countless hours of combat observation, processed the scene instantly. 3 males, military age, positioning themselves tactically around a woman and child. Body language aggressive, predatory. The woman's posture defensive, protective. His therapist's voice echoed in his head from their last session. "You need to learn that not every situation is a combat scenario, Marcus. You're in Jacksonville now, not Helmand Province." But Marcus's instincts, honed through fire and blood, screamed otherwise. "Easy, boy," he murmured to Rex, though his own pulse had already shifted into that familiar pre-engagement rhythm. His hand moved unconsciously to his hip, where his sidearm would have been. Finding nothing but civilian clothes felt wrong, alien. He watched the confrontation escalate. The woman, young, Hispanic, maybe early 30s, had positioned herself between the men and a small girl. The child was crying now, clutching her mother's leg. Red Bandana lunged forward, grabbing for the woman's purse. She jerked backward, and one of the other men shoved her hard. She stumbled, nearly falling into her open trunk. Marcus was already moving. The distance closed fast. Rex moved alongside him in perfect tactical formation, the way they'd cleared compounds in Sangin. Marcus's combat boots, still his footwear of choice even in civilian life, ate up the asphalt. His mind calculated angles, distances, threat levels. No weapon visible on subjects. 3 versus 1, but Marcus had faced worse odds. Rex evened things considerably. "Step back!" Marcus's voice cut through the afternoon heat like a blade, carrying the unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed under fire. All three men spun toward him. Red Bandana's hand moved toward his waistband, but he froze when he saw Rex. The dog's lips had peeled back from white fangs, a low growl resonating from his chest. "This ain't your business, old man," Red Bandana said, though his voice had lost its edge. His eyes kept flicking to Rex, measuring the distance. Marcus stopped 15 feet away, his stance balanced, weight centered. "I'm making it my business. Walk away." "There's 3 of us," one of the others said, trying to sound tough. He couldn't have been more than 19, all bravado masking fear. "I've faced worse than you on a bad Tuesday," Marcus said flatly. "It wasn't a boast, just fact. This woman and her daughter are leaving. You're not stopping them." Behind the men, Sarah had pulled Emma close, whispering something to her daughter. Marcus caught her eye briefly, gave a slight nod. "Get ready to move." Red Bandana seemed to weigh his options. His hand remained near his waistband. Probably carrying, Marcus thought, but not stupid enough to draw on a military dog and a man who moved like a soldier. "Rex, guard," Marcus commanded softly. The German shepherd moved forward 3 paces, positioning himself between Marcus and the threats, his growl deepening. The dog's training was evident in every controlled movement. The youngest thug took a step backward. "Man, this is crazy. Let's just—" "Shut up!" Red Bandana snapped. But Marcus saw the calculation in his eyes. This wasn't worth it, not for a purse, not against someone who clearly knew what he was doing. "Last chance," Marcus said. "Leave now, or I call the cops, and you explain to them why you're assaulting a woman and child." The standoff held for 3 heartbeats, then Red Bandana spat on the ground. "Whatever, man. Wasn't worth it anyway." They backed away slowly, maintaining eye contact until they reached a beaten ford 20 yards away. The engine roared to life, tires squealing as they fled. Marcus didn't relax until the car disappeared onto Arlington Expressway. Only then did he turn to face the woman he'd defended. Sarah's hands were shaking. She'd kept it together in front of Emma, but now the adrenaline was crashing through her system like a wave. "Thank you," she managed. "Thank you so much." Marcus raised his hand slightly. "Just happened to be here." He knelt down, bringing himself to eye level with Emma. The little girl had stopped crying, but still clutched her rabbit like a lifeline. "You okay, sweetheart?" Emma nodded, then looked at Rex. "Is your dog nice?" "Very nice. His name is Rex. He only growls at bad people." "Like my daddy," Emma said suddenly. "My daddy was a soldier. He died." The words hit Marcus like shrapnel. He looked up at Sarah, saw the wedding ring still on her finger, saw the grief that lived behind her eyes. He recognized it. He'd seen it in mirrors after losing brothers in combat, in the faces of widows at military funerals. "I'm sorry," he said, standing. "Marine Corps." Sarah nodded. "2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. IED outside Sanguine, 8 months ago." Her voice was mechanical, reciting facts she'd said too many times. "I was 1st Battalion, 7th Marines," Marcus said quietly. "Different company, but same area of operations. 2019 to 2020 deployment." The connection hung between them, unspoken but understood. They'd both lost something in the same desert, on the same mission, serving the same cause. "I'm Sarah Martinez," she said, extending her hand. "This is Emma." Marcus Webb. His handshake was firm but brief. "You local?" "North side near the base. You?" "Arlington area." He hesitated, then made a decision. "Look, I don't want to overstep, but you should report this. There are cameras in this lot." Sarah glanced around, spotting the security cameras mounted on light poles. I just want to get home. I don't want Emma to have to go through more today." Marcus understood. He'd avoided police stations himself since coming home. Too many questions, too much attention, too many memories of official briefings about things that went wrong. At least let me walk you to your car. Make sure you get out safe." Sarah loaded her groceries while Marcus stood watch, Rex sitting calmly at his side. Emma had warmed to the dog, gently petting his head while Marcus supervised. "Your husband would be proud," Marcus said as Sarah closed the trunk. "The way you protected your daughter, that took courage." Sarah's eyes glistened. "I didn't feel very courageous. I felt terrified." Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. Marcus had heard that from his drill instructor a lifetime ago. It felt true now. Sarah studied him for a moment. "You've been home how long?" 6 months. "And how's the transition?" The question was too perceptive, too knowing. Marcus almost deflected, but something about this woman's directness, her refusal to look away from hard things, made him honest. "Some days better than others. Today was a good day." Sarah smiled, and it was genuine. "Today you gave Emma a hero story. One where the good guy shows up and the bad guys run away. After everything she's been through, she needed that." Marcus hadn't thought of it that way. He'd just done what his training demanded, what his conscience required. But maybe that was enough. Maybe that was the point of coming home, to be there when someone needed defending, even if it was just in a parking lot in Jacksonville instead of a compound in Afghanistan. "If you ever need anything," Sarah said, pulling out her phone, "I mean it. Babysitting Rex, someone to talk to who gets it, whatever. We military families take care of our own." Marcus felt something shift in his chest, some weight he'd been carrying alone, finding shared ground. He gave her his number. As Sarah drove away, Emma waving from the backseat window, Marcus stood in the parking lot with Rex. The Florida heat still pressed down, the city still hummed with its endless noise, but something felt different. Lighter. His therapist was wrong. Not every situation was combat, but his training, his instincts, his sense of duty, those didn't have to be liabilities. They could be exactly what someone needed when darkness came calling. Rex nudged his hand, and Marcus scratched behind the dog's ears. "Good boy," he murmured. "We're exactly where we're supposed to be." The warrior's duty didn't end with the uniform. It just changed form, from protecting villages in distant deserts to protecting strangers in parking lots. The mission remained the same: stand between the innocent and the threat, no matter the cost. Marcus started walking home, Rex at his side, feeling for the first time since leaving the Corps that he had a purpose beyond just surviving civilian life. He had a mission, and that made all the difference.